Hey, welcome in. I've got a real head scratcher for you today. What if you could imprison someone by doing absolutely nothing at all? Sounds kind of like a riddle, right? But it's actually the central question in the strange legal world of false imprisonment. Today, we're going to break down a case that hinges on this exact idea.
So let's start with this. Can you be imprisoned by accident? It seems like it should be a simple yes or no question. But what if the imprisonment wasn't caused by someone doing something, but by them failing to do something? Well, that's where the law gets incredibly interesting.
And believe me, this isn't just some law school hypothetical. It's the real deal. It's the core of a very strange UK legal case, Iqbal versus the Prison Officers Association. And it really forces us to ask, what does it actually mean to imprison somebody? All right, so let's set the scene. Our story kicks off inside a prison, and it focuses on what turned out to be a very, very unusual day for an inmate named Mr. Iqbal. So, get this, Mr. Iqbal is just a regular inmate serving his sentence. But one day, the prison officers decide to stage an illegal strike. They just stop working. For Mr. Iqbal, this means his usual 6 hours of recreation time gone. He's stuck in his cell all day long, not because he broke a rule, but simply because nobody showed up to let him out. Now, Mr. Iqbal, feeling like his rights were totally violated, decides to sue. And this brings us right to the heart of the matter, the core legal question. Did the officer's strike count as an act of imprisonment, or was it just a failure to act? You'll see in a minute that this distinction is literally everything. So on one side, Iqbal's claim seems pretty straightforward, right? He's saying, look, I was confined against my will for an extra 6 hours. That's false imprisonment. But the prison officer's defense is, wow, it's subtle. Their argument was basically, hey, we didn't do anything to lock you in. You were already there. We just failed to let you out. To figure out who's right, we need to put on our armchair lawyer hats for a moment and break down the really specific legal terms at the heart of this whole dispute. First up, what even is false imprisonment? Well, in the eyes of the law, it's the unlawful imposition of a complete restraint on someone's freedom of movement. Those key words to hang on to are unlawful and complete restraint. And to actually prove it, the law says you generally need 3 things. You need that deprivation of liberty, you need intent, and this is the absolute kicker here, you need a positive act by the person you're accusing. This one point is the pivot on which this entire case turns. And just so we're all on the same page about that intent part, it doesn't mean the officers had to want to cause harm to Mr. Iqbal. Nope. It just means they had to intend to do the act that caused the confinement. Like intentionally turning a key in a lock. Okay, so with those legal bits in mind, let's get back to the story. Let's see how the court actually ruled in this incredibly fine-grained dispute. This is it, the moment of truth. After hearing from both sides, did the court find the prison officers liable for falsely imprisoning Mr. Iqbal? What do you think? Well, the court's entire decision came down to one really powerful principle. It's captured perfectly in this line from the judgment. The tort of false imprisonment is not committed by an omission, that is, by a failure to act. So the verdict was crystal clear. The court sided with the prison officers. They were found not liable for false imprisonment. A pretty surprising outcome for a lot of people, but it all hinged on their specific reasoning. So let's unpack that logic. The court said, look, the strike was a failure to work. That's an omission. But false imprisonment requires a positive act, like physically locking the door. The officers didn't put him in the cell. He was already there because of his lawful sentence. So their failure to let him out wasn't a new act of imprisonment. So you might be thinking, okay, a weird case about a prison strike, why does this matter to me? Well, it matters because it draws this razor-sharp line in the law between acting and failing to act, and that has huge consequences. It really all boils down to this difference. An action is a deliberate positive move. Think locking a door. An omission is a failure to do something, like not unlocking that same door. And in this specific part of the law, only the first one, that positive act, can be false imprisonment. So if you take one thing away from all this, let it be this. To be liable for false imprisonment, the law demands that someone actively does something to restrain you. Simply failing to set you free, as strange as that might sound, generally isn't enough. And that kind of leaves us with this final, really provocative question. This case decided that inaction was not imprisonment. But in a world where not doing something can cause just as much harm as doing it, where do you think the law should draw that line? It's something to think about.